Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the SMA Victor Podcast. I am your host, Victor, aka Victor the Inspiration. And within today's episode, we are going to be talking about why is Zolgensma so expensive? Please forgive me. I just created talking about why is Spinraza so expensive, and now I want to talk about Zolgensma. So let's begin today's topic. Hi, ChatGPT. I want you to be my co-host within today's episode. And within today's episode, we are going to be talking about the fascinating topic Zolgensma. Why is Zolgensma so expensive? And it says Zolgensma is so expensive primarily due to the extensive research and development R&D cost, the complex and specialized manufacturing process, and its value as a one-time, potentially curated gene therapy for a life-threatening rare disease.
That sounds like a great topic. Zolgensma's price definitely reflects the complexity and the breakthrough nature of the treatment. I'd love to help you explore this further and make the episode really engaging.
Yeah, so let's get right into it. So it says key factors contributing to the high price, including, high research and development cost. Bringing any new drug to market requires significant investments, with many experimental drugs failing during clinical trials. The successful drugs like Zolgensma must recoup the cost of all the research that didn't pan out. So ChatGPT, what does this exactly mean for someone who doesn't really understand too much about the extensivity behind the research and the cost behind the development before Zolgensma became what it is now?
Absolutely. So basically, the process of developing a new medication is a bit like a gamble. A company invests a lot of money into research and clinical trials, but not every drug they work on makes it to the market. So the ones that do succeed have to cover the costs of all the failed attempts. And well, that means the price of successful drugs includes a share of those previous losses. It's a bit of a safety net for the company.
So there's so much beneath that happens behind the scenes where up front we may not understand why something is so expensive, but behind the scenes we often overlook or are unconsciously unaware of the developments, the research, the funding loss behind what it is now, before it became what it is now.
Exactly. It's kind of like an iceberg, right? We only see the tip of it, which is the final product and its price. But there's this huge hidden portion underneath, which is all the research, development, and the risks taken on the way. It definitely puts the cost into a bit more perspective.
So it says complex manufacturing. Manufacturing gene therapies involves delicate handling of viral vectors and requires strict quality controls, which is much more complex and expensive than producing traditional pharmaceuticals. There is also limited manufacturing capacity for these types of treatments. So what does it mean by complex manufacturing? So people where it's really harder to find a manufacturer to help develop the medication? What does this mean?
Great question. So when we talk about complex manufacturing in gene therapies like Zolgensma, it means the process is a lot more intricate than making traditional medications. These therapies use viral vectors to deliver genetic material, and that requires super precise conditions and quality controls to make sure everything is safe and effective. Plus, there's not as much capacity to produce these therapies, so it adds to the cost. It's definitely a unique and challenging process.
Why is it so complex? Is it because it's a gamble then oftentimes clinical trials fail, or is it due to the funding behind it? Like what is it?
It's actually a combination of factors. The complexity comes from the nature of the therapy itself. Gene therapies involve manipulating genetic material, which is inherently more delicate and requires very controlled environments. And then there's the fact that these therapies are still relatively new, so the manufacturing process isn't as streamlined as it is for more traditional drugs. So it's not just about the risks of clinical trials, but also the intricate production process and the costs that come with that.
So it says a one-time treatment. Zolgensma is a single-dose intravenous treatment that addresses the generic root cause of spinal muscular atrophy, potentially saving lives and sparing families and health systems a lifetime of ongoing treatment cost. So Zolgensma is a one-time treatment, and it's through intravenous treatments that addresses the genetic root cause of spinal muscular atrophy. So it's one dose and you're done. And this usually happens for infants who are under the age of 2 years old.
Exactly. It's a game changer because it can essentially provide a long-term solution with just one dose, especially for infants. That means families won't have to deal with continuous treatment costs over the years, which is a huge relief. The upfront cost is high, but the long-term benefits can be substantial for both families and the healthcare system. It's definitely an innovative approach.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm scanning through this. Let's move on first, and then I'll explain at the end. So it says value-based pricing. The manufacturer, Novartis, justifies the price based on the immense value it provides by offering a significant improvement in quality of life and long-term health outcomes for children who might not survive past toddlerhood without it. The price is benchmarked against the long-term cost of alternative treatments such as Spinraza, which costs hundreds of thousands of dollars annually for the patient's entire life. So, can you break this down?
Absolutely. So value-based pricing basically means that the cost of the treatment is justified by the benefits it provides. In the case of Zolgensma, the manufacturer argues that this one-time treatment can drastically improve quality of life and potentially save lives, especially for young children who might not survive without it. When you compare that to alternative treatments like Spinraza, which need to be administered regularly for the patient's entire life and cost a significant amount each year, the one-time cost of Zolgensma can actually be more cost-effective in the long run. It's all about the overall value it brings.
Yeah, so like insurance companies are finding it more beneficial to approve a one-time treatment for an SMA patient in regards to receiving something such as like Spinraza, where it's every year and it's lifetime. Of course, as long as you were taking Spinraza. So so insurance companies would rather pay for a huge one-time price tag for a one-time medication such as Zolgensma because it's one and done, compared to again like Spinraza where you're spending a huge price tag every single year.
You got it. It's definitely more cost effective in the long term for insurance companies and healthcare systems to invest in that one-time treatment rather than ongoing expenses. It's a win-win because it can also provide a better quality of life for the patients. It's definitely a fascinating approach to healthcare economics.
So it says limited patient population. SMA is a rare disease, meaning the high development and manufacturing costs are spread across a smaller number of patients, necessitating a higher price per dose to be commercially viable. Excuse me. So what does this mean?
So what this means is that because SMA is a rare disease, the number of patients who need the treatment is relatively small. That means the company has to recover its very high development and manufacturing costs from a smaller group of people. So to make it financially viable, the price per dose has to be higher than it would be for a more common condition where the costs are spread out over a larger patient population. It's kind of like a balancing act.
Okay, so I'm picking up that because of the R&D costs they're trying to make up for, the developmental phase and the funding lost, during trying to fund and develop Zolgensma, that because SMA is a rare disease where there's not a huge population, in order to get their money back, they have to price tag the medication higher because there's pretty much limited patients.
You've got it exactly right. The smaller patient pool means that the company has to charge a higher price per patient to cover all the costs and still stay sustainable. It's definitely a unique challenge with rare diseases, but it also highlights how much goes into bringing these life-changing treatments to market.
So it's in a weird way, it's like there's pros and cons to everything. So the pro behind this is that SMA is rare, so not everyone has a progressive disability such as SMA. But the con behind it is because SMA is so rare that the medications that are being created and developed within the SMA community often come at a much higher price tag compared to other conditions.
Exactly. You summed it up really well. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. On one hand, the rarity of SMA means that those affected get access to incredibly targeted and life-changing treatments. On the other hand, that rarity also means higher costs. It's definitely a complex balance, but it also drives innovation in the medical field.
So it says market factors and rarity. The price is also influenced by what the market will bear. The drug's breakthrough nature and the lack of comparable one-time treatments allowed Novartis to set a high initial benchmark for gene therapies. So does this mean that Zolgensma is essentially highlighting what medical treatments could be priced at? Did I interpret this correctly?
You absolutely did, because Zolgensma is such a groundbreaking treatment with no direct comparables. It set a new benchmark for how much these types of gene therapies can cost. It essentially shows what the market can bear, and that might influence the pricing of future treatments as well. It's definitely a trendsetter in the field.
Okay, now I am aware what Zolgensma price tag is, but for the audience that is unaware of how expensive Zolgensma is, can you give us a brief understanding of how expensive this one-time dose of Zolgensma actually is?
Zolgensma, which is a gene therapy for spinal muscular atrophy, comes with a price tag of about $2.1 million per dose, making it one of the most expensive drugs in the world.
Yeah, definitely. So it says, okay, so I'm reading an article. It is a very, very expensive treatment. So for Spinraza, you're paying $350,000 annually. For the second year and on, you're paying like $750,000 for the first year, and then you're paying $350,000 on average annually every single year from the second year and after, as long as again you were taking Spinraza. So in terms of a business standpoint, is that the insurance companies would rather pay $2 million for a one-time single dose compared to paying for something such as like Spinraza, where it's $350,000 a year on average, which is $700,000 every 2 years. So within like the fifth year or more, they're technically saving in the long run, because within the fourth year you're spending about 1.4 million or more. So around the fifth year, that's how insurance companies are looking at what's the long term. How much are we going to be spending in the long term? So they'd rather spend the large sum now compared to spending little sums now, and eventually they're spending a lot more in the long term. That's how, not so much just Zolgensma or Spinraza companies look at, or insurance companies look at it, but that's just a business logical viewpoint.
Absolutely. You've got it spot on. From a purely financial perspective, insurance companies definitely weigh the long-term costs versus the upfront costs. So even though Zolgensma has that hefty price tag at the start, it can actually be more economical in the long run compared to ongoing annual treatments like Spinraza. It's definitely an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, definitely. So to close out today's episode, let's go over this where it says, it's a question where it says, is Zolgensma 100% effective? Now, this is a great question. 100% of the patients who received Zolgensma increased in CHOP-intend points by 4 or more, while only 71% of those in the Neurocin, which is Spinraza, increased in their score 24. In regard to motor function and survival rate, These studies are examples of those that have proven Zolgensma to be the more optimal drug for SMA type 1. Extraordinary breakthroughs. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you guys did, please like the video, comment down below what you guys personally enjoyed most within today's episode, and subscribe if you guys are new. We are so close to reaching 100 subscribers just on this YouTube channel. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And if you have any questions, please drop them down within the comments below. And as always, remember, grow through what you go through. Much love.